It is a tale of watching the watchdog as the Nigerian media continues to undergo scrutiny over its reporting of the election campaigns and related activities. The International Press Center Lagos and the Nigerian Press Council, which are monitoring select national and regional newspapers, online media and social media platforms, say the exercise is necessary to assess the degree of media access to parties and candidates and underrepresented groups like women, youth, and persons living with disabilities. In their report for the month of January, which covers 23 national and regional newspapers, 4 online media and 3 social media platforms, the group said the election reports were tilted in favor of the 2 biggest parties, the All Progressives Congress (APC) and the People's Democratic Party (PDP). The report notes that of the 1,226 relevant stories in the national newspapers used that had political parties as sources, APC and PDP were mentioned 580 and 464 times respectively. Other parties trailed far behind. For example, the PPA was mentioned 7 times, while Kowa Party, which has the only female presidential candidate, was mentioned just twice. IPC and NPC say that the implication of this is that equitable reportage was not given to all the political parties contesting the elections. They recommend that the press should give greater reflection to the campaign issues of all political parties cleared by INEC to contest the elections, irrespective of sizes and resources. The report also shows that low visibility was given to female voices. It was discovered that in the national newspapers, female sources were mentioned only 95 times, while male sources came up as much as 2,460 times. For the regional papers, out of 976 mention of politicians, 930 were male, representing 95%, while 46 were female politicians, representing only 5%. The online media also projected the voices of male politicians more than those of their female counterparts. Mr. Lanre Arogundade, Director of the International Press Center, and Mr. Nnamdi Njemaze, Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Press Council, speak more on the findings of the monitoring and the need for professional balance, especially as stipulated by the Nigerian Media Code of Election Coverage.
We are not in a position to impose sanctions, but essentially we are saying let the media self-regulate itself. We can do without some of these sensational headlines. We can do without some of these advertorials that contain hate speech and in fact inciting statements. The other thing we want the media to understand from the monitoring exercise we are doing is the fact that the public is also paying close attention to what is happening in the media. So in the reporting of the elections, the media must also ensure that its reports are credible, they are reliable, they are factual, so that they do not lose that trust which the public should have in them.
They should also ensure and strive to let that code be a guidepost in their reportage.
It was also discovered that the newspapers fell into the trap of reporting hate speeches embedded in character assassination, which keeps the polity tense and sometimes sparks violence between the supporters of rival politicians. The national newspapers used more sensational headlines than the regional newspapers. Some of the political advertorials in the newspapers contained statements which directly attacked personalities. The monitoring bodies are of the view that comments made by politicians should be weighed to see if they are conflict sensitive. Where found to be so, preferably, alternative words are to be used to ensure the media separates itself from any act or speech fanning the embers of war or violence.
We want the newspapers in particular to understand the fact that what you are publishing today may be subject of litigation tomorrow, because somebody who feels he or she has been libeled could go to court well after the elections. So while you are making gains from adverts, you might lose that if a law court, for example, decides that you should pay damages for what you have published. So what we have done really is to provide what you could call a mirror for the media to look at itself.
However, the International Press Center and the Nigerian Press Council, through the mediums monitored, discovered that adequate publicity was given to the issues raised by the electorate about the activities of the Electoral Management Body, INEC, which include complaints of inadequate distribution of PVCs and the sudden shift in the general elections date. The mediums monitored also reported adequately the responses of the Electoral Management Body to the people's complaints about its operations. In conclusion, the International Press Center Lagos and the Nigerian Press Council, with the support of the UNDP's Democratic Governance for Development Project and its partners, seek a balance by the media in incorporating all issues affecting underrepresented groups in election reports. These groups include the youth, who constitute about 70% of the nation's population, women, who form about half of Nigeria's population, and people living with disabilities, who make up to 22 million of the nation's population. For more details of the breakdown of the January 2015 election monitoring report, log on to www.ndr.org.ng. For the Nigerian Democratic Report, NDR, Jacqueline Ogoh reporting.